almost the end of the first day on my multi-day hike from North Bannister to Dwellingup. We're at White Horse Hills campsite. Beautiful day, and yeah, it was nice to reach. It was actually quite tiring today, and the person with me, Solano, did fantastic. This is why I do what I do. You shall conquer!
Baka!
Sol and I today are hiking about 15 kilometres on the Bibbulmun Track from White Horse Hills campsite to Mount Wells. It's Mount Wells campsite. It's on top of Mount Wells. It sits at about 480 metres. So most of today is pretty flat, and it's just really the perfect day. It's lovely and cool. It's cloud cover. It couldn't be any better, really. This is Solano's fourth hike with me. Definitely the longest. 67 kilometres in 4 days. He's told me that he would like to redo this section by himself in a month because he'll be familiar with it. And I think that's fantastic. So today's about 15 kilometres. So he's going to spend about 10 kilometres of it walking by himself behind me. And then tomorrow I'll get him to leave the Mount Wells campsite, say about half an hour before I do, and he can walk the day by himself. He's got his own map. He's got good confidence now. He picks out the woggles very easily, and yeah, it's great. Perfect sit down log. Time for a break. The last time I did this section between North Bannister and Dwellingup was during my end-to-end at this time 2 years ago. been reflecting, and especially on how I've changed as a hiker over that 2-year period. Back then, I wasn't an experienced hiker when I started the bib. So kilometres, how many kilometres I could complete in a day used to be on my mind. Now no distance really concerns me much at all. For instance, if I had to hike 30-35 kilometres today, I would just do it. And if I had to arrive at the campsite at night, I would do it. The other thing is that I was a lot more worried about snakes back then. I only saw 4 snakes throughout the whole end to end. So now I don't think about them at all. I'm aware, but I just don't think about them. Not worried about. I actually look for them now because they're just so beautiful. It's my self-confidence that's changed the most. What I know I'm capable of doing, and what I'm capable of doing, even though I've never done it before, I know I can do it. It's a new way of thinking. Just left Mount Wells a little while ago. 15-kilometre hike today to Chidura campsite. Sol left exactly an hour before I did, and we were going to do half an hour, but we figured out that I would probably catch up with him pretty quickly. So we worked on an hour, and he was a little nervous but very excited. I'm expecting it to take about 4 hours to get there. The Bibbulmun Track that we're on is 1,000 kilometres or 620 miles long. It begins at one end in a suburb east of Perth in the hills called Kalamunda, and travels down to Albany on the south coast. It travels through a number of small towns where you can resupply, and it has 3-sided shelters approximately every 20 kilometers. They are closer to each other at either end of the track. Each campsite also has a tent area if you choose to stay in a tent, or if the shelter's full. Occasionally, due to bushfires, our shelters are burnt down, and then detours are made around that area, and temporary campsites are set up where a temporary toilet, every campsite has a drop toilet, there's a temporary toilet and a smaller water tank, but of course no shelter. You need to use your tent, and that is one of the reasons why even on overnight you must carry a tent. Regarding food on the Bibbulmun, you have 2 options. The most common option is to organise food boxes. Can be posted ahead to your accommodation in the towns. And what I did when I did my end-to-end or through hike 2 years ago was the town before I rang ahead and notified the accommodation that I was coming on an approximate date, and that was also the time I notified my parents to post my food box to the next town. The other option is that you resupply in the towns, which is not extremely reliable in some of the towns. Only a number of them have supermarkets, and a number of them just have general stores or less. I'm a vegetarian, so that was just too much of a risk for me, and I organised my food boxes as I mentioned before. As well as national parks and reserves, the track runs through some private property, including farms and also mining property, which is what you might hear in the background. So the mining companies allow us to walk through their land, and 2 or 3 mining companies are also major sponsors of the track for its upkeep and so on. Generally, the track is very quiet. You will definitely not run into the same amount of people that you might run into in the US on the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail, or the Appalachian Trail. You can go up to a week quite easily without seeing a person. On my end-to-end, I didn't see anyone for 5 days in my first week. There is no cost to using the Bibbulmun Track at any time. There is no need to register anywhere except for logbooks, which you will find at each town of Kalamunda and Albany, and each town along the way, and each shelter. This is used for safety and also statistics. The only payment I recommend is that you join the Bibbulmun Track Foundation online, pay a small fee, you're a member, you can have some of their support and it helps them. With this mining noise in the background, this is a good time to stick the headphones in and listen to some music. There's an emu. It looks like a young one, and I saw another one pass earlier, so I imagine that this one wants to cross the track, so I'm going to stop for a few minutes and let it pass. It looks so confused. I imagine it hasn't seen too many humans before. It's recommended that you carry a minimum of 2 litres of water per day, no matter the distance or how low the temperature is. On much warmer days, you can easily carry double that amount of water. Each campsite has rainwater tanks, so you can refill at the end of each day. When you're hiking 20 kilometers per day, it's crucial to keep your energy up, and it can be a lot more comfortable to eat gradually during the day with appropriate snacks than a big lunch and a big dinner. Some of the things that I snack on are Snickers, muesli bars, energy bars, trail mix, dried fruit, dark chocolate. This track is a real contradiction. It becomes evident very quickly how remote you are and how remote you feel, spending hours on end walking by yourself. It's something that you can fear initially, but then without even knowing that it's happened, you suddenly feel this connection to everything. You follow the Bibbulmun Track with the woggles. That's one right there. During my training and the beginning of my end-to-end, I would occasionally walk right past a woggle simply because I wasn't concentrating. So I would come up with some games to play. Woggle, 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 woggle. The last 4 kilometers heading into Chidura campsite is just stunning forest. It's just so peaceful. Just love this. Magnificent trees. Just love being here so much. Just before we reach the campsite, the forest has totally changed. There's grass trees everywhere. Five minutes later and it's changed again. Still got another day tomorrow, another 19 kilometers into Dwelling Up, but I have loved these last 3 days so much. Enjoyed it so much more than during my end-to-end. A lot more people do the Bibbulmun Track from north to south, and people tend to, when they're asked about their favourite sections when they're doing an end-to-end straight all at once, most people tend to pick further down south. This is because, say, the first third of it, you're still adjusting to the track physically, you're mentally, you're breaking that, and then as soon as you break through that mental and physical barrier, you relax, and it's like a line that you pass. It's like your whole trip changes, and it happens at different times for everybody. Now that I'm doing this section for the first time since my end-to-end, I'm just loving it. I've just seen things that I never saw before, or I just didn't remember because I was tired, too busy focused on finding those woggles, getting to the next campsite. It's quite an interesting observation. Oh. Ouch. Just twisted my ankle. Hey! Done it! Sol got here faster than he expected, and he enjoyed every minute of it, and he's Very pleased with himself. Successful day. During the 4-day hike, Solano rediscovered an old injury which he'd forgotten about simply due to a lack of physical activity. It became painful and it slowed down his hiking dramatically, which made his journey even more remarkable. The hiking brings you back to your raw self and brings old mental and physical injuries to the surface, and only then can you start healing. This became evident to me during my 68-day journey on the Bibbulmun Track again and again. And I'm not saying expect instant healing, even though it did happen to me once during my hike. It's about taking ownership for it and then allowing yourself to ask for help. Day 4 on our way back to Dwelling Up. It's a 19-kilometre day. It's flat the whole way. We've decided to push ahead and reach a little train station on the way. We're hearing their first cars for 4 days. It's overcast. It's very cool, a bit muggy, and Sol wants to push himself this morning, and the reason why I giggle is not because he wants to push himself, was because he wants to reach Dwelling Up as early as possible to have more beers before his wife picks him up. Go on, just tell me that again, Sol.
I found another use for the walking pose, you know, just to relieve the pressure on my left shoulder, or right hand shoulder, sorry, should I say. Yeah, so it's a very nice device.
Mix a hiker with an engineer and you got yourself a genius.
That's it.
Such beautiful trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, we better get out of the way, otherwise we'll stress him out.
We are out, mate, don't worry.
Here's the Hothenbury Railway. I intentionally didn't film the last hour of hiking because it's a very personal journey and I experienced it just as much as he did. Good on your soul. Magnificent effort, mate. Incredible. See you next time. I plan on making more videos like this, so if you enjoyed it, please follow me. Also, if you would like your own journey or always part of a group, please go to didierwalks.com.au onto the hiking page and just contact me directly and let's have a chat. Thanks very much for watching. See ya.